Okay, so trying a different format for you. I'm reloading the same video again because of YouTube destroyed the audio on the other one. I do have the original with audio in it, so it's not taking it from that format, the audio. Let's sort of jump in here a bit. So Clearwater Police Department, if you want to find it, they've published the photographs of the scene. Since I've already done this video, I'll be able to do it a lot faster, a lot more differently, I think, a lot more improved. Let's see if we can jump into it differently. So in the background here, you're inside the building. There's sand here. Here's concrete, and it's cut. This is rebar. Let me zoom that out again. That's rebar points. Let's see if I can help you with that distinction. So here is here. These rebar, saw cut. All right, in the background, this is a column and red tape apparently all around, everywhere. So no parking, no going there. I would cut to the chase a bit and tell you what we're looking at, but I'm going to sort of play it the same way. Over here to the right is just one pillar or multiple pillars. All right, pillars, columns. So let's zoom in. Here's the aggregate. Here is the steel that's inside here. What's not in here are stirrups. They go across, excuse me. They go across the structure like this. Let's see if we can get this going real quickly. So your stirrups are going to be multiple ways, but they could look like this. And as we're looking top view down, this should be 135 degrees, we would put steel here, and each corner at least, depending on load and how high the column is and the dimensions of the column. But you can see, you would see it on each corner minimum. All right, minimum, and then possibly in the midsection. This is close to, it's close to maybe having one more piece of rebar here. That would be so close to each other. But what's missing are these stirrups. They belong around the column, around inside this column, and they're not there. Let's push this off to the side for now. We'll bring it back perhaps. So we're looking at the reinforcement. It is bonded. It's doing well on this concrete. In fact, when they're split apart, this piece of concrete here stayed with the reinforcement, and this kicked out. Let's just look in the background here. Here's a piece of concrete that's going to be noteworthy in a moment. Once you take note of that, noteworthy. It doesn't look like it's been undercut by sand, erosion, things like that. The stirrups are number one here. So this accident is this failure, if you will, is actually a positive, because now it's been revealed that these columns don't have stirrups, and without stirrups, the proper size stirrups, you're in bad shape. Now, I said no stirrups. You can see that there's this wire here, and that might just be placement. Stirrups would be failed stirrups would be much size more. There would not be wire. All right, there's something of a wire there, and there's a wire presents as wire there, but don't know if that was a past repair they did or not. What the advantage is, these are $1 million units here in plus. You can now go through here and fix all of the problems. You can jacket all these. You can reinforce them all, and so there's a positive to it. Yes, it's going to cost money, but you guys got one of the greatest locations for the people that live there. It seems like they were coming across this pad presents to me as a lot of sand on top of this, what appears to be concrete, which is, oddly odd. That much sand, why is there so much sand up here? I'm trying to find if they're tracked it across there or not. If we look at the base here of this column, I'm bringing this back over now. So a piles would be like this. This is underground, and then you get a pile cap, and that would be like this. And this can be level with the concrete here. So that's the pile cap, and then here's the where you drive your cars on here and all around the column. All right, we're looking at the side profile of it. Let's move this out of the way. And then on top of that is the column that we're looking at that's fractured. And on top of that could be a small roof deck. I don't know the load of this. It could be the building on top of here. And then we have this load coming down that causes this fracture. This fracture we observe here in this column. All right, we observe that. And we have a piece of steel that presents as coming, a little bit of bow in it right there, and then move it in. So move that over a bit maybe. And we have this this reinforcement that I think is inside this bottom pad to a degree. Let's move this out of the way again. And so that's what presents as a single piece of steel there. Now we're going back to the other side. Yeah, okay, for clarity, this is tan, presents as tan to us on this side. We have an elastic mirror, a very stretchy paint, if you will. This is going to be good to know. It's going to be hard to find cracks, such as like these fine cracks, because the paint's going to stretch. But it's difficult to, because of the stretchy paint, if you will, to indicate. This crack is new. It's not like it was there because we see no paint rolled around into the crack where they painted this. So if I look at the face here, it's a new crack. And then I get what indications that it transfers to white on the other side. This looks like a white, and that looks like a white, and this looks like the tan. That's important to know. Remember this piece down here. It's important to know because when I come over here, I think it's that piece there, and now our color presents as white. In the background, we have this color. Now, let's talk about the base. So the base, or the cap, if it is a cap, it lines up exactly with the pad. It's a saw cut there. And this column is now, I think, shifted over here. I don't think it's plumb anymore. I think it's shifted over to some degree to the edge of this. Now, the pad being square, or square shape, straight lines would come over past the column and be on this side. I don't see it there. What I do see is it presents as sand, concrete, and possibly what happened here, some extra jackhammering, if you will, went along to remove this pad. Let's back out. To remove this pad, because they're replacing the pad, and they got a little ambitious maybe, and this is going to be a positive thing because it reveals that these columns don't have stirrups and they're not reinforced as well as they can be. How about that? And no one died. So at this point, it's still salvageable. The company probably has insurance that will pay for this damage. And now we look at the concrete, and we see these chamfers on each corner. Let's back out. These chamfers right here. So let's look at this one. See the chamfered corners? They're not edged. They have a chamfer on them. And so when we go back here, we see chamfered over here. But on this side, we see what? No chamfer. But we actually see indicators that grinding took place. So this was together, and they ground the chamfer down. They ground the chamfer down, making it wider for some reason, the chamfer being larger than the one to the left, the other corners, and specifically how large that is. Now, so this was ground, and this was part of the failure that came off. This is unground, if you will. As we look at it, it almost looks like it was ground on the inside there, but I'm not going to lean towards that. I just think it's photography getting me a little bit weird, but I would be stunned if that was existing in a crack and they ground inside there. I don't think it is, but wow, this edging just doesn't look like it matches up, but it doesn't mean it doesn't. I mean, this might belong there, but remember, I can't lift this up much. I will have to lift it up just a bit to get into there, to bring this over to there. And then that's what an edge looks like that's been untouched. So they ground a significant amount of this corner, this chamfer. They removed the concrete from the floor, and it appears underneath the column even, and maybe that undercut it a bit and the load it needed, and consequently we get this shear failure from buckling, and it does it upon the steel at the location of that looks like steel on this side right here. See the steel, and I've shown that in other demonstrations, that if you give me a steel pad, a concrete with steel pad in it, even wire, I can impact where the wire is, and because the steel is in there, whether it be wire or steel, it acts as it works until it fails. But until it fails, it works by its grip force, if you will, and the composite action of the concrete all being solid. Now, if I take a hammer to that location where the steel is, it will fracture a lot easier for me because it's a part. It's a separation. It is an expansion joint, if you will, a control joint inside there. So a control joint, I don't want to say expansion, a control joint inside there, but it's filled solid with steel. Nevertheless, it's still parting the concrete from one side to the next. If I took a hammer right to that location, I would be able to fracture it a lot easier than over here where there is no reinforcement. So for clarity on that, and I did on another video, and I showed how I broke up a sidewalk with just a sledgehammer by myself. If I were to pound here, it would be much tougher in this concrete than pounding right here above the steel. This would fracture above the steel a lot easier than this section over here. Maybe it's counterintuitive to you, but it's a fact. So we have some buckling here. Some of the steel, this thing settled down, and might be because there was undercut from underneath, and that gave it I don't think it was overloaded, meaning that they were just, because we have other indicators to show it just wasn't overloaded. These aren't buckling in the background. Nothing else is buckling, but where they removed pad, then all of a sudden we're looking at a failure. We have steel that presents coming from the pad, which is great. This is at least, I would say, 6 inches approximately, and that looks like that part of the concrete. Maybe it's this corner piece here. Now, shifting or not, well, this bald area shift, I mean, we're looking at, this fracture shifted, but we have rebar that says it only shift this much, whatever we're looking at, this deflection. This much, and that kicked out that much. And on this side, we have it's straight. It's still supporting, but the load on this side of there, the distribution of the top of this column, if you will, did this. Now, you're talking about punching shear, or I like to tease punch shear if it goes through the floor, and punching shear if it comes from the top. I know I help memorize stuff. So this would be more of going through the floor, and also possibly jackhammering, because this is broken up. This is not saw cut anymore. This is going at it with a sledgehammer. And after this failed like this, you can bet they didn't just start chiseling at it more. And there's no tools here, as you may notice. So the police department took this photograph, I think this reported, and then magically all the equipment that was at the site disappears, or they showed up like this. It's amazing. This looks like a footprint that you'd be able to indicate who was there because of the specific footprint, including shoe size. So we have this grinding that took place on this column. Did that initiate it? I don't think so. It depends on what kind of grinder it is. It looks like it's a pretty, 80 grit, something around that nature, that do this exposed aggregate like that, grind down the aggregate. So I wouldn't, not like a 36. I don't see a lot of dust here, so it wasn't just a second ago. It wasn't after they did this. We would see a lot of dust and white powder here. We don't see that. So apparently, if I was a guess, I would say that they ground first, then they removed the concrete, and then we're looking at possibly a little aggressiveness over here underneath this pad. Again, the positive thing is this exposes that there are no stirrups in here. No stirrups. And that's the critical structural element of a column. Now, this is also based on load and the year it was done and permitting, etc. So I think they would have to now hire someone to map out the entire building of all the reinforcement and as built of all the reinforcement and figure out whether you like the placement of the concrete of the reinforcement. There's a lot of cover here, meaning it has roofs over top of the parking garages, so we're not going to be looking for too much reinforcement, swelling, and cracking. As you can see here, it looks pretty good to me. I don't see any cracks coming off of that. They saw cut that, so I don't know what they specified to put them back. They were going to drill holes, epoxy rebar into it. This looks like the grinding paste, like they wet grind it, and so that would be like grinding paste, but it's on the other side. So location is kind of odd to me where that paste is. We don't see this side. Maybe they ground some of that. But here's our reinforcement. It's in good condition. You see the ribs, the deformation it's called, not the deflection of it, but the deformation of the ribs. Pretty damn good. It's solid in this column here, in this concrete. Like I said, it's pretty much sticking to the back of this. Of course, it's fractured here with that angle, and it pushed it off a bit, but it still has a good bond strength. So I'm not hating on this concrete. We're looking at the aggregate size, the settlement when they put it in a form. Remember, this was a wood form and they poured into it. Well, if we're looking at this placement, and now we have hindsight to investigate it, looks pretty good. We're not looking at a lot of consolidation at the base. They did a nice job, short of saying, lacking of stirrups. Now you can externally wrap this in stirrups. You can also figure out what's going on here, the capitals, to figure out how you're going to make sure it doesn't have punching shear problems. And punching shear problems is, I know everyone thinks of it as just, bringing over the column, that it's just this coming around like that. That's a rarity. In reality, it's a deflection problem, all right? It's a deflection problem, and then this pulls down around it, and you'll get it looking like that. And so you've got a span problem and deflection. And if you remember, this would be our Champlain Towers thing. So it's this deck deflecting, ripping apart our concrete that's in the middle here. And let's see if we can get lucky and it gives me a yellow one. It did. Ripping apart our concrete in the middle, and then we get what people think will identify as punching shear. In reality, it's not. It was a deflection problem first. This deflected, this caused this to deflect with it, and then separate here. Reinforcement separates, and you ultimately end in failure. So this is a positive thing that this happened, because now it reveals that they should do a full rebar inspection of the entire structure. I will say that it looks like the pads, it's kind of neutral axis. They put it in the middle there, but it's still steel there, and the condition of it looks great. So, and there's no washout from the sand. Maybe here a little bit from whatever they were doing, maybe consequential of their work around here with saw cutting. But they can sound it. They can go tapping here. You can look for cracks. You can look for that. And I don't know how this is set up on a pile or not. It's so weird. It looks like it's almost on top of just on the floor. And why do I say that? Because you're not jackhammering. You would see the pile cap right about now. Unless it's a single pile. The load is really not that much, and they used a single pile. So imagine, let me bring over the drawing. So a single, move this out of the way, and a single pile, and let's make this smaller, and it would be something like that, into the ground, and this concrete flooring going in, and it also acts as the cap at that point, and then the column goes on top of it. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And then the column goes on top of it, and they saw cut on this side right here. They saw cut, which is out here, and on this side they take what I call BFH and big fucking hammer, and the jackhammer, and they jackhammer this. They undercut it. All right, so they want to. Some reason they, I don't know. They got a saw that doesn't only works in one direction. I think they take some, it's this concrete here is missing. This section here is missing. All right, it didn't turn missing on its own. It just didn't evaporate. It was man hours that removed it. Whatever's here took man hours to remove. If we look to the left of this image, this edge lines up with this edge. You can see the small fracture there. What I'm looking for is saw cuts, and we can't see it from this side to confirm that. But the police department might be able to if they look at the video I have here and share more imagery. And if you guys live there, you can investigate yourself. Give me some photographs and look for the saw cut on this side. Or it's very clean. It looks like a saw cut to me. It doesn't have round edges. But then they could have saw cut the whole damn job, and it would be a little more information I would need to confirm it. See, very clean. On the other side, I can't tell. It looks very clean, But they did a nice job of saw cutting. That has not escaped me, that line. And it duplicates over here. This has not escaped me. What I think of is that they did 3 pass, 1, and maybe this is a second pass. And then you see this little, it's almost like it's a shelf. Let's see if I can bring this over. It's almost like it's a shelf like this. So first cut, second cut, and then the saw couldn't go any deeper. So it almost looks like this to me. Like this part here. Looks like that. Now, I call it seeing ghost. I could be wrong because I just need a better photograph. I'm trying to figure out depth with other data, and it's pretty hard sometimes. This doesn't look like a saw cut over there. And this is kind of weird here, too. It kind of lines up with that. And the depth, it seems like there's multiple cuts here. And this often happens. You're cutting and the guy backs the blade out because the machine starts bogging down. Then he dips it back in deeper, and then you get this variable depth. And then the second pass goes that far. But over here, maybe the saw can only go down that deep. And this part just gets jackhammered off. I don't know. I need to see closer imagery of that. I'm just telling you what I look for. And how's that important? Well, it tells you that equipment-wise, did they have all the correct equipment there? Were they doing it, or were they doing it on the whatever they had available? The saw on this one, it can't go up to the wall, so they can only go so close, and then they've got to switch out to a different. If it's a big saw, if it's a walk behind, big 21-inch saw, that would go through it, but you're gonna get a cut like that, and so this would be a good image to give me a shot there, and I'll be able to tell the saw by that radius. I'll be able to tell the saw blade, the depth of it. If you get lucky, you'll be able to see sand that's cut, and if you dig around it, you'll be able to catch the measurement from here to the very bottom of the line where it went through the sand, and then we'll know which blade they did. Hopefully, they don't go there and destroy all the edges and destroy that data that I'm just revealing, considering they probably are monitoring anything that posts on this subject. So it's too close to the column for that to be a saw cut. Right here, there is a flat wall saw cut, but it's would you have it available? Why would they be? You wouldn't saw cut this unless you're trying to remove this pad that's right here. And so was that their intent, to remove all the pads? Well, I don't think so, because we see a saw cut. So the repair appears to be from here over to this right here, what we're looking at, with this broken ship here is kind of interesting because it's beyond two edges that are not broken. Like this isn't broken and that's not broken. The depth here, I'm not too sure how did it compress down or not. I'd have to look at it. We'd have to tell me more. I need a better photograph to confirm that. Is that the same elevation or is it down a ½ inch? Meaning this was just put on the pad and it got a lot of its redundant strength from the rest of the pad with steel in it. And once they remove the redundancy of the steel pad, the larger pad, this acts as just a pile driver, and the load above can do this after they jackhammer here. Now the load is, it's now transferring to less of a surface area. So there's more load, less of a surface area, and now it can cause this fracture. So if you sorry, that's my mouse. It's less of a surface area, and you get this buckling. It's and then this, so all the load is actually on the right side of this, and the load on this is already fractured off. Fractured off, and wow, we see some pieces in here. That's interesting. Some very sheer thin plate pieces. This is I'm trying to think where I would put that back. This is not typical. It's typical for this for sure, but this is not typical. You get the two-sided shear on what 4 pieces it looks like, 1 and 2, so 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not typical. All right, so this looks like our steel back here coming from the, well, that would be from that, what I said would be the concrete floor. Kind of strange setup, right? What year did they do that? Or when they finish exploring this, the engineers, is it going to turn out to be a real pile down there? Will it be a single pile down there? Or are there micro piles, a couple of small piles underneath of this? I don't really see that because of the this. I don't see it here. I don't see a cap, a pile cap, or top of a pile right here. It's almost as if this could be a round column, but what are the odds that we don't even see the edge of the round column here? Don't even see it. I don't like all these flaked pieces. I really don't. See all these flaked pieces? This is not... And then, of course, we have the grinding, but the flaked pieces, nah. You don't get it like that. So we know they ground. We know that just looking at it, like this is a ground piece here. See this? That's a ground piece. You can see the aggregate. I said because this is a much larger stone. And the shapes of them. See our shapes here? Much larger stone. That stone's like that stone to your left. Much larger than these small stones here. So I'm going to think that's the floor. Let's go back to the, inside here. The floor is a much smaller stone. That's a much larger. And it's got a pipe through it. It's looks like a piece of plastic. That stone looks similar to what we were looking at, and I always got to think of photography. But it's so close to scale. Since it's so close, I don't have it being that far out of scale. That's too huge. If it was further back, then yeah, it can get bigger. But the definition of it at all. So this is I wish I had more photographs. I would start thinking that it's around the base, and right here is where this was not done by this was hand moved, right? This was done by humans removing this, And this was not part of the failure of the column. It can only, you could see it's pretty close to where it is, besides moving it back this much, half an inch, and you're back in place. It's as if the bottom was tucked under and it came out like this direction here, of this concrete here. And then we had a bypass because this kicks out here, this whole section here, this little leg kicks outwards. Yeah, I don't want to get myself too wrong on this, but I'm going with jackhammering. And we would know that if they would just tell us it was jackhammering going on here. We know there was grinding here, and we don't know if it's this crew or not. We don't know if they did the jackhammering, in fact. But we know someone did it, and someone removed this pad. This was never like this all the time. A little sand walkthrough. I mean, it's interesting, though. I will say that they did a great job removing all the concrete here. I was trying to find some scraps. But apparently they did a great job. Again, I don't think it's that this is a step and then this was there all the time. I got to consider everything. I don't think that was a step. That's a step there and it's painted yellow. We don't see any yellow on this. So I do believe it's concrete that has been removed. Yes, I have to think that wild, even though we know that we got other data that says no. You still got to try to find another way to say, well, maybe, just a chance. Maybe someone put the pad further out, then they cut it back, and they did this. You've got to think you just can't assume it's exactly what I said. So you've got to travel down that other direction. And maybe that's concrete there. Oh, noteworthy in the other video I stated, the one with the audio, that this is a lot of sand up here. I don't know. It presents as sand. A lot of sand. And as far as impacting this with a vehicle or something, if there's a bobcat there, they're squirrely as can be. Bobcats are. And a bobcat can get out of control real fast. And next you know, wham, it can have a lot of force. And, bobcat tracks would be like this width right here. And there's maybe something like that profile where it repeats like a little thing like that. They can get real squirrely real quick. But I don't see any bobcat tracks right up to this. What I did find was the shoe print. I think I talked to you about that in this video already. Yeah, like what it presents as a shoe print. And yeah, you can pull the pads out in big pieces to stop the jackhammering. It would be just saw cutting during the day and then lifting the pieces out with a bobcat with a claw on it, if you will. A thumb, but it's a claw. It works upside down, right? What else I have for you? Maybe an excavator can get in there, a mini. That's it. That's what I have for you, presenting that this is a positive thing. I know the owners, you guys got millions of dollars in this property. You got great real estate. This is salvageable. Everything's salvageable, but this is just, I think you should get your entire building mapped. That would be a beautiful thing, to have the entire building mapped of all the reinforcement, and then decide, whether where it needs external jacketing, if any at all. But it's nice to have an as-built to know where all the steel is anyway, for whatever reasons. And that would be all the places like this. Maybe you don't have to, all the columns is what I'm referring to. This column presents as no stirrups. So I would like to know if all the other columns present as no stirrups, and if they can take the loads without the stirrups, without this interference of outside force as this contractor or whomever did this. This didn't just happen on its own. We have evidence that this was a recent development. Shoring this up, on top of sand, lots of fun, lots of shoring. And usually shoring is done incorrectly. The shoring of this would be, a lot of people would just shore right where they are. They'll start shoring here only. They'll shore around here and here, and just to wrap it around the column and call it a day. you got to think about the deflection. Where is it going to deflect once you put it there? Once you do that, where is the deflection? Where's the load? And err on the side of caution and support it where so it's less load over here. And almost so they can give more room, because part of it's going to be in a cantilever just for a moment while they take the column out. And they put a new column in, maybe a new pile. And then from the pile, they add a cap. Let's say they had a cap for the floor for servicing in the future, for the flooring to go around it, etc. Then you going to put your column in. And this column, you know what? They can change it to steel a lot faster. They can go down into here in concrete, or micro pile if it's doable with the screw type pile, and see if they can get to that torque they need, and plus some, and then cap it, weld it, and then steel it up. Steel, and if you want that same look as concrete, you can wrap it in concrete with some protection against the steel, of course. But you can wrap it in concrete, and it'll be faux concrete column. But in reality, all the work's being done by the steel. The good news about the steel is you get a chance to, say this is steel now, you get to add a chance to add better punching shear protection, like a capital, much better. You get to add to it. All right, let's do that. So that's that, and then let's tie it together, strut and tie. So it looks like this. Not like that. My mouse. Okay, it's getting closer. I'm getting closer. It's strut and tie. This won't move that way. Great. Let's just do this. So this is the column they're tying to. Oh, it won't let me do that. It'll let me do this maybe. There we go. Now you have pretty protection. Pretty, and maybe later on you have to reinforce whatever's here. This can also be for post-tensioning, anchorage for post-tensioning to run through to the next, for another column that might be further down that's in line with it. And then you have exterior post-tensioning to help support the deck. It's a lot of ways to skin that cat, as they say. I love cats. You're not going to be skinning any cats here. Okay, love you guys. Take care. And this is lack of stirrups. But it's a positive thing, because now they've inadvertently discovered that they have what it presents as no stirrups. And that's a crucial thing. And also the caps, the pile caps, if there are any at all. This reveals this too. This load transfer is very strange indeed. Remember, it's based on load, though. I have no idea what the load is above this. We don't know if this is supporting the building or is it just a partial piece of roof. All right, we don't know that. But the fireman or policeman that took this photograph had, balls of steel to stand there and photograph it. Oh, you're okay. Shit, no, you weren't okay to photograph this. I mean, if you photographed it from a distance, you'd be okay. And they did to some degree, but no, this was not a safe place to be. That's when I heard that they supported it temporarily. I'm like, wow, how did they manage that? Safety reason wise, it would be working under something that could imminent collapse at any second. So you'd have to, because if this goes, it all goes. You'd have to, and you're trying to support on top of sand, and you need equipment to bring in there, causes vibration. So you need a nice little steel plate or some cribbing, I would say, initially to get it done real fast. Timbers, just crossed hatch timbers like you see them moving houses real fast to get it up, real fast. And yeah, risking your life to do it, because you lost a major supporting column. You didn't just jackhammer this, undermine it, and then this just split on its own. No, it took a load above to do this. Significant load above, and now it's transferred over to, so that's not even connected anymore. So the load is it's in the steel, and we see the buckle, and it's right up here, right about there. This shit over here is not even landing, it looks like, not even touching down. That might be that there, where some consolidation at the base took place. but you're looking at this stick right here. Oh, incidentally, there was a crack I wanted to show you. Maybe it was on the other side. So that's that one. I think it just seemed like it showed better. Fine hairline crack. So right here, the hinge action of it going outwards, and there's the little hinge right here. But first a large hinge, and then a little baby, enough to fracture it there. And now it can't transfer over any longer because it's only this little fine amount left. Now on the other side, symmetrical. You see the radius of it. It's not. It's a split that goes straight up, and that would be the difference between that side and there. So there's a little bit of twisting action going here, a little torque. So here is straight, no longer. On the other side, it presents as, I can't see the top of it. I can't see the top. This is the best, this is the only photographs I have. All right, take care. Love you guys. I'm out. Hopefully this video works. And thanks for your love of the kitty cats. Yes, I have a lawyer involved. And yes, AI has said, even AI has said, make a formal complaint, which we got the lawyer working on now, with the Blue Pearl vet clinic, vet hospital, and we're just let things take they're gonna go their way. But it was interesting. AI was like, yeah, for the public safety of other people, you know, please proceed with other animals with your formal complaint. It was interesting, AI, and I tried to fight against it with AI, and AI was like, no. This is for, you know, their actions are. It called their actions negligent. AI was very specific about that. That was very, and I try to fight against it, you know, just because I got to play the counter side of everything. And nope, AI was like, no, that's uncalled for. You know, where they say things like, you should go, you guys know about it yet. Oh, I'll link it at the end of the video. I'll link to the video in the description. If you want to give any love out to the cats, don't send me any money. I don't need your money, but the cats you want to send money, especially Lily now, it will go for Lily for sure. It will go to the other cats too to take care of. 2 more showed up outside, and I'm not trying to get attached to them. I'm just feeding them. It's actually 3. Feeding them. And I don't even want to share the video with you guys because you guys be like, oh, I like that one, I like that one. And I don't want, oh my gosh, I'll have to cage them. And next thing I know, I'll be telling you guys I got 12 cats. So I'm scared to show you those cats. But you're taking care of them. Let you know now, you guys are funding for the cats. You are taking care of those cats also. All right, take care. Love you guys. And I'm loading this up now.